business does flourish. I also heard, Jack, is it Route 28 group, or something like that, business group on Route 28 or something? You know anything about that?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. So there's things going on over that way, but ultimately, we are starting, I feel, to actually really come out. I know they say we're coming out of recession 3 years ago. I wasn't a buyer. Right now, I personally have a good feeling that we are truly on our way out. John?
Stratford Regional has told me recently that the continued trend to move from the seacoast up is going to increase. Now, there's a lot of factors on that. Cost of living on the seacoast is rising, so movement, at least from a residential point of view, up north is going to increase. Partially because of economics, partially of new people coming in.
Question for Mr. Whitmore. We're gonna be sending our kids down this highway, and my husband and I go to church down to St. Catherine's. There's a section of that road. And your buses travel that road too, I imagine, to pick up students?
We do.
What's Wolfburg going to do with that?
Well, you know, Wolfboro's an interesting community, but I will say that they're, I don't live in Wolfboro. They have finally, I think, grasped their responsibilities for some capital improvements that they're doing. And over the last several years, they have passed quite a few warrant articles to do some repairs. Certainly the road department, I think, is focused on some of these roads.
Can we get that fixed before our budget?
Well, it would certainly be nice. I don't live in Wolfboro, so I don't know a lot of input, but
If I may, I think they have a warrant article in place in upwards, I think, of $1 million to fix that.
If we could, let's try and keep it on this.
Yeah, okay.
We really appreciate everybody stayed on. So I guess my point in showing this is that based on the projected increases, that there could be a shift in population in the future where Middleton starts making up more of a preponderance of the total school enrollment in Farmington. But just keep in mind some of the tuition costs, some of these things that we've already shared with you as it goes forward.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I sat in a meeting recently with Real Farmington, yesterday, budget meeting, and I heard a number bantered around as to what the possibility of it is in this year's fund balance. Before I say anything, I'd like to ask Mr. Walford what he is projecting the fund balance to be for Farmington this year that's going back to the taxpayers.
Right now, Janet, I'm hoping that we're going to end the year in the black, barely, because we've lost another $400,000 in adequacy because of declining enrollment. So we've had a budget freeze on since December 1st. At this stage of the game, I'm not optimistic that there's going to be a great deal left at the end.
The number I heard going back to the taxpayers was over $1 million. I was sitting here when they said it.
That was last year, and that was based on $600,000 worth of audit adjustments that were made.
Okay, so that's the money that's
And the town did
going.
not get $1 million back. The town actually got about $300,000 back because revenues were down by $700,000 last year.
Well, that's the number I heard, was over $1 million going back to the taxpayers in the
That's
next
incorrect.
round
That
of
was
taxes.
incorrect. They got about $325,000, I think it was, back because of $700,000 lost revenue between less tuition from Middleton and loss of adequacy last year.
Oh, I was sitting there, that's why I'm asking.
All right, so what happens if the articles are all approved, construction timeline begins, all grades attend Farmington this ensuing school year, grades pre-K to 6 will attend Farmington for 2015-16, while Governor Wentworth will go, the 7-12 go to Governor Wentworth. In essence, we'll have a new Middleton intergenerational facility. Again, everybody in this room will be able to enjoy the use of that facility. We'll have local control, new energy efficient schools. That doesn't only go for our school building, it also goes for the Governor Wentworth school buildings, middle and high school. As you heard, they just went through a very extensive remodeling and new building project up there. And I'll personally attest that they run very energy efficiently. They burn no fossil fuel up there. It's all ground source heat pumps. Get their heat out of the ground. And
amount of money that we're budgeting for energy costs is about the same as it was today before we did the construction project. We added 134,000 square feet of space. So the geothermal system that we put in is heating and cooling all 4 building types.
So, in new energy efficient schools, grade 7 and 12 tuition agreement with one of New Hampshire's most respected school districts. Sounds like you did questions and answers during. My kids are in there somewhere. So, let's talk about things. There were some people pretty upset last year about apportionment. And quite frankly, some people came at the board pretty hard. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
The board's been very busy with a withdrawal plan, review board, what have you. The board provided direction to legal counsel who we had retained last year regarding miscalculations. We felt there was a thing miscalculations. So as of last night, this letter did well.
Is this from the planning board, this letter went out?
I'm going to read it to you. This comes from Wadley Star and Peters to Farmington's legal counsel, Jim O'Shaughnessy. Dear Jim, we write on behalf of the Middleton School District to outline its position with regard to Farmington's improper calculation of tuition and the 2% rental fee set forth in the area agreement, and to make a demand for the return of the improperly calculated sums. As you know, the Farmington Middleton area agreement took effect on July 1st, 1973. Pursuant to that agreement, the rate of tuition shall be determined annually and shall be projected costs of the current expenses for elementary pupil and for high school pupil, and the average daily membership for the year in which the charge is made as estimated by the Farmington School Board. For the purposes of this agreement, students registered in grades 9 through 12 inclusive shall be considered to be high school students, and those registered in grades 1 through 8 inclusive shall be considered to be elementary school students. Making its computation to determine the estimated current expenses for high school and elementary school student, the Farmington Board will not include amounts budgeted for pupil transportation, capital outlay, and for debt service. A rental charge of 2% shall be added to the tuition rate and shall be calculated in accordance with provisions of RSA 194.27. And there's a footnote at the bottom of this letter, citing that, the language in that, based on fair capacity of the Farmington area school buildings. Thus, pursuant to the area agreement, tuition is determined annually. Tuition equals a projected cost of current expenses for an elementary pupil and high school pupil, the average daily membership for the year, which the charge is made, minus costs associated with pupil transportation, capital outlay, and debt service. The rental charge is calculated pursuant to the statute and is based on fair capacity of the Farmington schools. Recently, the Middleton School Board learned that the Farmington School Board was improperly including additional line items in the tuition calculation. For example, the Farmington School Board is including its share of the school administration cost of calculation of current expenses for elementary and high school pupils. This is inconsistent with both the area agreement and state law and results in an improper double charge for Middleton, who is also responsible for raising and appropriating its share of SAU budget. In addition, the Farmington School Board has neglected to include grant revenue to offset expenditures in the tuition calculation. As a result, the expenditures are included in the tuition calculation, but the revenues are not included as corresponding deduction. Finally, when calculating the 2% rental charge, Farmington has improperly included the building contents in the rental fee, after also including the costs associated with purchasing those contents in its tuition calculation. Upon information and belief, these improper practices have occurred for a number of years. The Farmington-Middleton area agreement is legally binding contract. Farmington has breached that contract by failing to calculate tuition in the rental fee in accordance with plain language of the contract. Farmington's improper calculations in resulting breach of contract cost the voters of Middleton at least $1,133,824 over the past 7 school years, exclusive of the grant funds. On September 24, 2013, a member of the Middleton School Board requested copies of all documents, including work papers pertaining to the calculation of tuition charge to the Middleton School District under the area agreement during the period of July 1, 2008 through the present, as well as calculations of the 2% rental charge during the same period. Since that date, only certain of the requested documents have been provided. A request that you instruct your client to provide us with the remaining documents as described in Mr. Gary's October 14, 2013 correspondence. If possible, please forward electronic copies of these documents in their original format, example given Excel spreadsheet. On behalf of the Middleton School District, we hereby make a demand in the amount of $1,133,824 against the Farmington School District. The Middleton School District reserves the right to amend this demand at any time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm not going to take any questions to this. I want to keep you informed of what's going on, and we will be consulting with legal counsel. Please understand that our conversations with legal counsel are protected by attorney-client privilege in the state of New Hampshire. This is not intended to keep you uninformed. It is intended to protect the full interest of the school district of which the board is empowered. Okay? War will be unfolded.
Wow. Thanks.
And that's just 1 year.
That's it?
No, it's 7 years.
Now, I do want to put a personal note on the whole school. I came into town, probably, yes,
What does she put in?
before, I got into town about 1995, so approaching my 20th year. I had a neighbor stop on the road when I was out raking leaves and said, you know, you ought to get involved in town. So I ended up on the ZBA. And I got to know people in the community in those situations. They're looking for variances, they're looking for relief to do a deck or put a dock in the water or what have you. And one thing led to another, and quite frankly, over the course of time, I've adopted Middleton as my home, my hometown, as many of you have as well. We're a very frugal community, but at the same time, we're a very volunteering community. There's a Lions Club plaque up over here that we started probably, you'll see the date on it some time ago, because there were a group of us that wanted to get things going in the community to help out. And I know everybody else does things in their own way. I know Jonathan's done Italy, and I'm sure everybody has their own philanthropic things going on. What I'm going to say is that there is a core group of people in this community that are very committed to it. We all talk about how we're disconnected from each other and how we want to make it better, and how we can connect better. I had a Farmington resident, police officer actually, in my home and he made a comment to Julie and I, and he said, you know, Middleton is like the little engine that could. And that really resonated with me for a real long time until this day. And we are the little engine that could. We have the capacity in this community to turn this place right around, big time. And it's not simply with money. Money is a factor. Everybody I've talked to in this town has a very strong heart. I've not met one person that has ever shunned or turned someone away, rebuked or discussed. The ice storm was a very pivotal moment for all of us. There's been other storms as well. We're not unlike any other community, but I really think that having a community facility in this town, and the school is really one of the facilities that play a very multiple role in the community, will embolden and strengthen the community. I think we can do it. We We showed you some very hard-hitting tax numbers up there, over $5 a thousand. I also showed you the demand level as well. We don't know what will happen out of that, okay? We know that there's New Hampshire construction aid being talked about down at the legislature. If this community moves forward and says, yes, we want to do this, understanding that we have all these potential revenues, we, in effect, will be making a statement. Maybe Michaela Reynolds will write about this in Foster's and say, wow, what a statement. Maybe other people external to our community would like to be part of it. We already know we have a very large community that wants to be a part of ours, and that's Governor Wentworth. And they've told us that today. And I've heard that well over a year now. They want to be part of our community as much as we want to be a part of theirs. We have the capacity to reach out to Concord. We have Representative Mullen here. I've spent a fair amount of time in Concord as well. There's others in the community that do the same. So there's a lot of resources and capacity here that can reach out. I'm also going to introduce you to our marketing manager, Kim Fortin. Okay? I say that in joking, and she knows that. Kim's a private entrepreneur, but she also has provided, some good objective perspectives on things as to how we can help move this community forward. So there's another act of volunteerism, not picking one way or another, but has a clear vision of what it means to bring a community together. These are all things that we've talked about in the past. I'll remind Roger that we had a discussion probably over 10 years ago. Roger and I have this dream of sitting down, watching a baseball game on some bandstands together, so we can shoot the you-know-what, all right? These simple things that bring the community together, that empower the community, that foster strong education, strong civic virtue. Civic virtue is something that I've observed in the national community as something that has gone away. Civic virtue is something that a lot of us observe right up at Governor Wentworth at the Deliverative session. It's something we observe regularly up in Wolfboro, in that area. It's something that we observe in this room as well. We heard some disagreements. We talked about the bond. I looked at it, that article, for an hour and 20 minutes. We talked about the operating budget for 15. One's $4 million, the other's $6 million. We've seen it. We talked about the dog officer for 30 minutes at a town hall. We passed the regular operating budget for $350,000 within 5 minutes. But I think everybody walks out of this room, this building here, knowing that civic virtue played out. And what I mean is the behavior in which we execute our civic affairs amongst the community. I know that building over there is only going to complement it and make it even better. We were up at Governor Wentworth, and one of the slides came up. And one of the things was a fundraiser for playground. How did they do the fundraiser? What was it, Todd? Children's spaghetti dinner. Not an adult spaghetti dinner, but children's spaghetti dinner. These are all things that just start to come in. And it's really going to be a sit down when you walk into that